Imagine a world draped in absolute velvet blackness. Before flickering LEDs and neon cityscapes, night was a formidable boundary. It was a kingdom ruled by shadows and the silent tread of predators. For our earliest ancestors, the setting sun was profound vulnerability. In this primal setting, the discovery of fire was not merely a technological leap. It was the birth of the human soul, while other creatures feared the flame. Early humans did something revolutionary. They reached out, cautiously approaching. They didn't just survive, they invited fire into their inner circle, transforming a destructive force into civilization's hearth. This unique relationship created a psychological sanctuary. Fire provided more than warmth. It provided social light. By extending the day, fire allowed for the first true leisure time. Language evolved from warnings into complex narratives. We sat there to tell stories. Fire became the world's first cinema, dancing shadows on cave walls, illustrating myths. These legends would eventually define entire cultures. Staring into a campfire feels hypnotic. It's a biological link to our past. Scientifically, a bonfire's impact on the human psyche is profound. The rhythmic crackle and glow drop blood pressure. It's an ancestral meditation. This relaxation fostered prosocial behavior, vital for early communities. In the glow of embers, tribal tensions melted away, replaced by belonging and collective identity. This heart-side bonding meant important decisions, from war declarations to marriage blessings, took place around a central flame. The fire was the witness, the judge, and the silent protector of the community's secrets. Fire allowed us to project our internal world onto the universe. Ancestors saw stars as campfires of gods. This leap in abstract thinking, seeing a spark and imagining a soul, truly separates us from the animal kingdom. The bonfire became a bridge between physical and metaphysical, a sacred space where smoke carried prayers to heavens and ash anchored memories to earth. Every ritual today, from national holidays to birthday cakes, echoes that first act. As we move through history, this psychological anchor evolved into complex systems of belief. Fire became a symbol of purity, burning away the old self for the new. It taught us cycles of life. This duality of destruction and creation is the heartbeat of every major global tradition we are about to explore. We are, at our core, the species of the flame. Our history written in glowing embers of traditions. Traditions that refused to let the darkness win. But fire held a deeper, more mystical secret. Ancient civilizations believed if you looked closely into the coals, you could read threads of fate. They discovered fire could be a weapon against the unseen, a tool for rebirth that Gaelic peoples took to an extreme, a ritual of fire and earth that we will uncover in our next chapter. As the wheel of the year turned for the ancient Celts, a specific moment arrived between the spring equinox and summer solstice. This was Beltane, the bright fire. For the Gaelic peoples, it was more than a date. It was a cosmic transition. Imagine a community emerging from winter's grip, where the sun was a distant memory and food stores dwindled. The Beltane fire signaled winter's end. It was a collective shout of defiance, capturing the sun's essence for the greening earth. The teen Aigeen, or need fire, was produced by rubbing wood together, ensuring it was pure and untouched by the mundane. Once the central bonfire roared, all other village fires were extinguished, then relit from this sacred source. This relighting was a profound metaphor for social cohesion, reminding households their warmth came from the communal flame. For Celts, fire was a living entity, a hungry god, requiring offerings to ensure healthy cattle and tall crops. A striking aspect was the firewalking of livestock. Farmers drove cattle between two massive, parallel bonfires. The smoke, thick with rohan and oak, was believed to have antiseptic and spiritual properties, burning away parasites and malevolent spirits. This was intense connection. Human, animal, divine. A people active in nature's cycles, using fire to bridge mundane and miraculous. The human element was equally charged. Young men and women leaped over dying embers, ensuring good marriage and fertility. In the flame's glow, rigid social structures softened. This was a time of liminality, a state of being in leaping through smoke meant leaving the past's stagnant energy, catapulting into a future of growth. Ash was scattered over fields like sacred fertilizer, ensuring the flame's blessing would feed the people in harvests to come. Looking like Beltane was more than folk tradition. It was a sophisticated mechanism for managing pastoral societies' anxieties. Fire provided a psychological reset button, shedding winter's trauma for summer's optimism. It was a celebration of fire's benevolent form. Even today, in Edinburgh's modern Beltane Fire Festival, thousands gather for the May Queen and Green Man. This proves the ancient pull of the bright fire still resonates, reminding us of our deep need for seasonal renewal. While Celts used fire to nurture life, elsewhere, flame was prepared for a confrontational purpose. Sometimes, fire wasn't just a blessing. It was a tool for political rebellion, burning the effigy of a traitor. This shift from sacred to socio-political brings us to a chilly London night that changed history forever. A story of gunpowder, treason, and a plot that still glows every November. On the cold, damp night of November 5th, 1605, the air in London was thick with a tension that threatened to tear the kingdom apart. Deep beneath the House of Lords, in a shatter-drenched cellar, a man named Guy Fawkes sat beside 36 barrels of gunpowder. His mission was radical: to obliterate the Protestant King James I and the entire British Parliament in a single cataclysmic explosion. But the plot was betrayed. Fawkes was captured. The gunpowder plot failed, and the king, in a move of calculated political theater, ordered the citizens of London to light massive bonfires to celebrate the joyful deliverance of the monarchy from a fiery death. What began as a state-mandated celebration of survival quickly mutated into a complex folk tradition that has endured for over 4 centuries. Guy Fawkes Night, or Bonfire Night, is a fascinating study in how a society processes trauma through ritualized fire. In the early years, these fires were aggressive and sectarian, often used to burn effigies of the Pope or political enemies. The fire was no longer a silent guardian of the hearth. It was a loud, crackling instrument of social control and national identity. It was a way for the common people to physically burn away the threat of treason and reassert their loyalty to the crown under the orange glow of the autumn sky. As the centuries passed, the bonfire boy culture emerged, particularly in places like Lewes, Sussex, where the tradition reached its most intense and theatrical form. Here, the bonfire isn't just a pile of wood. It's a massive, coordinated event featuring torchlight processions, marching bands, and pioneer groups in traditional costumes. The air hums with the scent of paraffin and wood smoke, creating an atmosphere that feels less like a modern holiday and more like a pagan survival. The fire acts as a communal furnace where the political frustrations of the year are metaphorically incinerated, providing a cathartic release for the entire community in a display of controlled chaos. The centerpiece of these modern fires is the Gaian effigy, made of old clothes and straw, representing Fawkes himself. Children would traditionally roam the streets, asking for a penny for the guy to fund their fireworks. There is something deeply psychological about this act of building a human likeness only to commit it to the flames. It echoes the ancient Wicker Man rituals, suggesting that beneath the surface of a political holiday lies a much older, darker human impulse: the need for a scapegoat. By burning the effigy, the community symbolically purifies itself, ensuring that the traitor is vanquished and the social order is restored for another year. Today, Bonfire Night has evolved into a multi-sensory extravaganza of pyrotechnics and light, yet it retains its somber, historical weight. It is a reminder that fire is a double-edged sword. It can destroy a government or illuminate a nation. The bonfires of hope in this context represent the resilience of a society that chose to turn a moment of potential destruction into a lasting light. We see here the transition of fire from a tool of survival to a tool of memory, proving that as long as we keep the fires burning, the lessons of the past of treason, plot, and the fragile nature of peace will never be forgotten in the darkness of history. But while the British were using fire to mark a political victory over the shadows of treason on the other side of the globe, the Japanese were preparing a much quieter, more ethereal flame. In the East, fire wasn't meant to burn traitors, but to act as a gentle beacon for those who have already left this world. A shimmering bridge of light between the living and the dead that we will explore in our next chapter. It is a pleasure to keep this narrative journey moving forward. We are now leaving the tranquil waters of Japan to enter the vibrant, chaotic, and spiritually charged atmosphere of India. Here, The bonfire is not a gentle guide, but a fierce protagonist in a battle between cosmic forces. In the humid midsummer of Japan, the air thickens not just with heat, but with a profound sense of anticipation. This is the season of Obon, a Buddhist Confucian custom that has evolved over 500 years into one of the most aesthetically stunning fire traditions on Earth. While Western bonfires often celebrate triumph or change of seasons, Obon is a delicate, intimate dialogue with the invisible. It is the time when the veil is brushed aside, and the spirits of ancestors are believed to return to the world of the living to visit their families. The fire here is not a wall of heat. It is a welcome light, a celestial GPS designed to guide wandering souls back to their ancestral homes. The ritual begins with the mukabi, or the welcoming fires, lit at the entrances of homes to signal to the spirits that the path is clear. Imagine an entire nation illuminated by these small, flickering beacons, creating a network of light that connects the living city to the silent mountains of the dead. This is Bonfire in its most refined form, a disciplined, respectful communication with history. For 3 days, the ancestors are treated as honored guests, offered food, and entertained with bon odori dances. The fire acts as the social fabric that keeps the lineage intact, reminding every Japanese citizen that they are merely a single link in a vast, glowing chain of existence that stretches back millennia. The climax of this spiritual season is the Gozen no Okaribi in Kyoto, where 5 massive bonfires are lit on the mountains surrounding the ancient capital. These are no ordinary piles of wood. They are shaped into giant kanji characters and symbolic forms, such as Dai, meaning great. As these monumental fires roar against the dark silhouette of the mountains, they serve as the send-off fires. The sight is hypnotic and deeply sobering, a public display of private grief and communal hope. The fire here represents the ultimate transition, the moment when the spirits, having shared a meal and a memory with their descendants, must once again return to the other shore of the afterlife. The final act of this fire poem is perhaps the most famous Tiar Nagashi, or the floating of paper lanterns. Thousands of small, glowing lanterns are set adrift on rivers and the sea, each representing a soul departing into the darkness. As the flames flicker on the moving water, the boundary between the elements of fire and water dissolves. This creates a powerful visual metaphor for the impermanence of Litha Buddha's concept of Mujo. The fire doesn't consume it carries. It is a bonfire of hope that promises that no one is truly forgotten, and that the light of a single life, however brief, can contribute to the shimmering collective glow of human history. As the last lantern disappears into the horizon, a profound silence settles over Japan. The Obon fires teach us that the flame is the only thing capable of bridging the gap between the physical and the metaphysical. It is a reminder that our connection to those who came before us is not just a matter of DNA, but a matter of shared light. By tending these fires every year, the Japanese culture ensures that the memory of the heart remains as bright as a summer moon. The fire is the anchor of identity, a way to say that even in a rapidly modernizing world, the ancient voices still have a place by the hearth, guiding us through the complexities of the present. But while Japan uses the flame as a gentle guide for the spirits of the departed, in the heart of the Indian subcontinent, the fire takes on a much more violent and purifying role. There, the bonfire is a battlefield, where an ancient demoness is cast into the flames to ensure the triumph of the soul. A story of betrayal, divine protection, and a literal explosion of color that we will witness in our next chapter. In the heart of India, as the moon reaches its fullness in the month of Falguna, the air crackles with spiritual electricity. This is the eve of Holi, known as Holika Dahan, when the bonfire becomes a roaring manifestation of divine justice. To understand this fire, one must understand the myth of Prahlad, a young prince whose devotion to Vishnu incited jealousy. His father, the demon king, Hiranyakashipu, and his sister, Holika, attempted to burn Prahlad alive, but her malice turned the flames against her, while the boy's faith left him untouched. The preparation for Holika Dahan is a communal labor of love and purging. Weeks before, people gather wood, dried leaves, and debris, piling them in public squares and at crossroads. This is a symbolic cleaning of the house on a grand scale. The pyre represents more than just wood. It is a repository for collective ego and spiritual rubbish. When the torch is applied, the eruption of light is greeted with cheers and prayers. The fire is a bonfire of hope that consumes evil, ensuring the light of the soul can shine unimpeded. As the flames reach their zenith, a fascinating social phenomenon occurs. The heat of the Holika fire acts as a great equalizer. It creates a space of communitas, where shared warmth levels the playing field. People perform parikrama, circling the fire, tossing stalks of grain or coconuts into the heat. This act is a literal sacrifice of the self. The fire cleanses the aura and provides protection against diseases, marking a transition to spring. It is a moment where a biological need for heat meets the psychological need for moral clarity. The aftermath of the Holika fire is just as significant as the blaze itself. The next morning, a sembrus kulash is collected and smeared on the forehead as vib. This isn't just waste. It is sacred ash, the purified remains of what was once heavy and dark. This transition from violent orange flames to gray peace sets the stage for the festival of colors that follows. The bonfire has sanitized the spirit, allowing the community to explode into a celebration of life, joy, and color. Reflecting on Holika Dahan, we see a profound lesson in the alchemy of fire. It teaches that hope is not passive, but something fought for, sometimes through burning away what no longer serves us. The fire in India is a witness to the eternal truth that evil cannot survive the heat of a truly devoted heart. It is a celebration of the invincible interior light that exists within every human being. As smoke rises towards the stars, it carries the promise that dawn will always be preceded by the hearth's purifying power. But as the sun rises over India, another fire is prepared in the dark forests of northern Europe. There, the flame takes on a darker, more mysterious hue, a shield against the witch's Sabbath. The bonfire is the only thing standing between villagers and the supernatural chaos of the night. As April fades into May across Germany, Scandinavia, and the Czech Republic, a strange restlessness settles. This is Walpurgis, the night of the witch's Sabbath. Ancient Germanic folklore says sorceresses and spirits fly to the Brocken to hold chaotic revelry. In response, the bonfires of hope take on a defensive, almost martial character. The fire is a shield, a crackling perimeter to ward off the hexen and ensure spring is untainted. The tradition of the Mayfeuer is a fascinating blend of pagan survival and Christian overlay. Villagers believed smoke and roar had power to confuse malevolent entities and smoke out evil. Imagine hundreds of bonfires dotting the European countryside, each a defiant spark against the dark canopy. This is the fire of the Guardian, a communal effort to sanitize the atmosphere. It reminds us that for our ancestors, season transitions were perilous, requiring the flame's purifying energy. In the modern era, Walpurgis has evolved into a celebration of folk identity and rebellion. In cities like Prague or villages of Sweden, the bonfire is the center of a grand social gathering. People dress in costumes, sing traditional choral songs, and let out rhythmic shouts to scare away darkness. By personifying our fears as witches and symbolically burning them, we achieve collective catharsis. The fire acts as a psychological furnace, melting away anxieties and forging a new, unified spirit for the community. They prepare for the long, sun-filled days of summer. A unique element is the role of youth and the May tree. While elders tend the fire, the younger generation engages in playful mischief, a nod to chaotic energy. The bonfire serves as the anchor of order amidst this controlled chaos. This balance between the wild and civilized makes Northern European fire traditions so enduring. They acknowledge the darkness of human imagination while asserting the dominance of the communal hearth. Reflecting on Walpurgis, we see the bonfire as a universal symbol of human resilience against the unknown. Whether it's a literal witch or modern anxieties, gathering around fire to declare this space is ours is powerful. The fire in the north is a cold weather fire, valuing intensity and brightness against the gray mists. It is a reminder that hope is often a fire lit in the face of fear, a light we carry into the dawn, leaving the ghosts of winter behind in the ash. But as the mists of the north clear, the fire migrates south, crossing the Atlantic to the tropics. There, the bonfire loses its defensive edge and becomes a rhythmic, explosive center of faith and music. A tradition where the saint and the flame dance together in a celebration of cultural survival. A journey to the Fogueiras de Snow Joel, that we will explore in our next chapter. It is a pleasure to keep this fire spreading. We are now crossing the Atlantic to witness how ancient European traditions were transplanted into the soul of the Southern Hemisphere. In Brazil and Portugal, the bonfire is no longer a shield against witches, but the very heartbeat of a vibrant, rhythmic identity. Across the vast landscapes of Brazil and the historic squares of Portugal, June is defined by the scent of burning eucalyptus and the rhythmic pulse of the accordion. This is the Festa, Junina, a cultural phenomenon centered around the Fogueira de São João. While its roots lie in European midsummer solstitial rites, the tradition underwent a profound metamorphosis in the tropics. The fire here is a sacred magnet, drawing entire neighborhoods together in a celebration that blends Catholic devotion with an earthy appreciation for the harvest. It is a moment where the bonfire of hope becomes a literal stage for the survival of folklore in an increasingly urbanized world. The architecture of the São João bonfire is a craft in itself. Traditionally built in a pyramid or square cabin style, the wood is stacked with mathematical precision. In the Brazilian Northeast, these fires are the soul of the families gather around the flames to share canjica and pamanha, foods made from the corn harvest. The fire acts as a time capsule, transporting participants back to a simpler, more communal era where the cycles of the earth dictated the rhythm of life. It is a celebration of abundance, where the flame serves as a thank you note to the heavens for the rain and the crops. There is a deep, mystical layer to these fires that borders on the magical. Ancient sympacious or folk spells are still whispered around the embers. It is said that if you jump over the bonfire of St. John, you will be blessed with protection and a prosperous marriage. This fire lipping is a rite of passage. In Portugal, particularly in Porto, the fire is accompanied by the mangarico and the playful hitting of heads with plastic hammers. The fire bridges the gap between the sacred and the profane, creating a space where the solemnity of a saint and the joy of a carnival can coexist in perfect harmony. For the modern observer, the Fogueiras de São João represent the persistence of memory. In a world of digital disconnection, tending a communal fire is a radical act of human connection. The fire provides a shared horizon, everyone looking at the same flames, feeling the same heat, and singing the same centuries-old songs. It is a powerful reminder that our cultural identity is not just found in history books, but in the physical experience of the hearth. The smoke from these fires doesn't just rise into the sky, it weaves through the fabric of the community, binding generations together in a warm embrace of shared heritage. Reflecting on this tradition, we see that the fire in the Luso-Brazilian world is a living ancestor. It carries the DNA of the Mediterranean sun and the resilience of the colonial frontier. It teaches us that hope is something that must be celebrated with music, dance, and a feast. As the last embers of the São João fire fade into the dawn, they leave behind more than just ash. They leave a renewed sense of belonging. The fire has done its job. It has warmed the social soul of a nation, ensuring that the light of tradition continues to burn brightly in the hearts of the people. But while the fires of St. John are built for comfort and community, there is a place in Spain where the bonfire is an act of spectacular, artistic destruction. Imagine spending a whole year building towering, satirical monuments of art, only to watch them vanish in a single, terrifying wall of flame, a ritual of beautiful impermanence that we will witness in the streets of Valencia in our next chapter. In the vibrant streets of Valencia, the arrival of spring is marked by a ritual that defies modern logic, the creation and subsequent destruction of towering masterpieces. This is Los Fallas, a festival where fire is the ultimate critic. For an entire year, Falero artists labor to build Ninet's gigantic, satirical sculptures made of wood, wax, and papier-mâché. These can reach several stories high. These are not merely decorations. They are complex social commentaries, biting caricatures of politicians and whimsical celebrations of local myth. The city becomes an open-air gallery of genius. Yet everyone knows that these masterpieces have a preordained expiration date etched in the calendar of the soul. The origin of this spectacle is surprisingly humble, rooted in the medieval tradition of Paros. To celebrate St. Joseph, craftsmen would clear out their workshops, burning the wooden stands that held their lamps. Over centuries, these simple piles of scrap would evolve into the sophisticated artistic structures we see today. This evolution reflects a profound psychological shift. the bonfire moved from being a practical necessity to a symbolic purging of the old year. By turning their artistic triumphs into fuel, the Valencian people demonstrate a radical detachment from the material world, choosing the experience of the flame over permanence. The climax of the festival is La Crema, the burning. At the stroke of midnight, the lights of the city are dimmed, and one by one, the hundreds of Fallas are set ablaze. The heat is immense, a roaring wall of orange that reflects in the eyes of the thousands who gathered to watch. It is a moment of beautiful impermanence. As the intricate carvings and vibrant colors melt into the fire, there is a collective sense of release. This is the bonfire of hope in its most honest form. It acknowledges that for new life and new ideas to grow, the old structures must be reduced to ash to fertilize the future. The atmosphere during La Crema is a paradoxical mix of celebration and somber reflection. While the fire represents destruction, it is also a sanitizing light. It burns away the satire, the grievances, and the social tensions that the Ninits represented. The fire provides a reset button for the collective consciousness of the city. As the smoke rises, it carries with it the frustrations of the past year, leaving the streets clean and the people renewed. This cycle of creation and annihilation is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. It is the realization that our greatest power lies not in what we possess, but in our ability to dream, build, and let go. Reflecting on Los Folios, we see a profound philosophy of life. It teaches us that art and tradition are living processes, not static relics. The fire is the bridge between the effort of the past and the potential of the future. As the last embers of the grand monuments cool on the Valencian pavement, the artists are already sketching designs for the next year. This is the ultimate hope. The knowledge that the flame cannot destroy the imagination. The fire has served its purpose as a catalyst for rebirth, reminding us that we are a species that finds its greatest light not in what we keep, but in what we are brave enough to burn. But this spectacular destruction of art leads us to a fascinating question. What is it about the physical nature of fire that connects us so deeply? Beyond the myths and the art, there is a hidden biological reason why our hearts beat faster and our minds calm down when we sit by the embers. A secret written in our very DNA, and the chemistry of our blood that we will explore in our next chapter. While the myths of the world provide the why of our fire traditions, modern science is finally uncovering the how. There is a reason why a flickering flame can silence a room faster than any digital screen. Evolutionary biologists have discovered that our connection to the bonfire is hardwired into our DNA through a process called coevolution. For hundreds of thousands of years, the fire was the only safe zone in a world of darkness. This created a selective pressure. Those who felt a sense of calm and safety near the fire were more likely to stay within its protective radius, survive the night, and pass on their fire-seeking genes to the next generation. The physiological response to a bonfire is almost instantaneous. Studies show that watching a fire leads to a significant decrease in arterial blood pressure and a stabilization of the heart rate. This is the body's rest and digest system, the parasympathetic nervous system taking over. The specific frequency of the flickering light, combined with the rhythmic, percussive crack of the wood, acts as a form of natural white noise. It lulls the brain into an alpha wave state, the same state achieved during deep meditation. We feel at home by the fire because, for the vast majority of human history, the fire was the only place where we truly were at home. Beyond the eyes and ears, the bonfire acts as a powerful social glue on a neurochemical level. When we sit around a shared heat source, our bodies release higher levels of oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. This chemical surge lowers our social defenses and increases our capacity for empathy and storytelling. This explains why the bonfire of hope is such a universal concept. The fire literally changes the chemistry of the group, turning a collection of individuals into a unified tribe. It is the original social network, one that operates not on algorithms and likes, but on the shared biological rhythm of warmth and light. Furthermore, the heat of the fire provides a profound somatosensory comfort. The infrared radiation emitted by a bonfire penetrates deep into the muscle tissue, promoting circulation and relieving physical tension. In the ancient world, this was the first form of physical therapy. This deep-seated physical relief becomes inextricably linked to our memories of community and safety. When we smell wood smoke today, our brains often trigger a sense of nostalgia for the hearth, even if we have lived our entire lives in modern apartments. It is a phantom memory of a time when the fire was our provider, our doctor, and our most trusted companion. As we dissect the science of the flame, we realize that the bonfire of hope is not just a poetic metaphor, it is a biological necessity. In an era of blue light and digital isolation, the orange light of the fire remains the ultimate antidote to modern stress. It reminds us that we are biological beings who require physical connection and environmental cues to feel secure. The fire doesn't just warm our skin, it recalibrates our ancient souls to the rhythm of the natural world. By understanding the science of the hearth, we gain a deeper appreciation for the rituals of our ancestors, seeing them not as superstitions, but as sophisticated methods of maintaining human mental health. But as we master the science of the past, we face a chilling question about the future. In a world of climate change, urbanization, and virtual reality, is the age of the bonfire coming to an end? Or are we finding new, digital ways to keep the ancient spark alive in a world that has forgotten how to sit in the dark? This final evolution of the flame is what we will explore as we conclude our journey in the next chapter. As we stand in the twilight of the first quarter of the 21st century, the relationship between humanity and fire has reached a strange, sterile crossroads. For the first time in nearly a million years, a human being can go their entire life without ever needing to build, tend, or even see a real flame. We have traded the unpredictable, roaring heat of the community bonfire for the cold, blue glow of the smartphone and the hidden, electric currents of the smart home. Yet, despite our technological mastery, there is a lingering, phantom coldness in our modern social fabric, a hearth sickness that suggests we have moved away from the fire faster than our biology was prepared to handle. This legacy of the ashes is visible in the way we attempt to replicate the bonfire in digital spaces. From the millions of people who watch Yule log videos on YouTube to the flickering simulated flame. Ladies, in our restaurants, we are a species desperately trying to trick our brains into feeling the safety of the ancient hearth. Furthermore, our modern fire traditions are being reshaped by our new understanding of the planet. As we face the challenges of climate change and environmental stewardship, the bonfire is evolving into a symbol of ecological hope. We are learning to distinguish between the destructive fire of the forest and the ritual fire of the community. In many parts of the world, traditional bonfires are being adapted with cleaner burning fuels or symbolic light festivals that use lasers to mimic the ancient dance of the flames. This shows that the essence of the ritual, the gathering, the storytelling, and the shared ore is more important to us than the literal combustion of wood and carbon. The future of the ancient spark lies in our ability to integrate this ancestral wisdom into a high-tech world. We see this in the digital nomads who gather around beach fires in Bali, or the Burning Man participants who build a temporary city in the desert to celebrate a massive, symbolic effigy. These are not just parties. They are modern liminal spaces where the bonfire acts as a portal, allowing us to shed our digital identities and reconnect with our primal selves. The legacy of the ashes is not one of mourning for the past, but of understanding that the fire is a movable feast, a ritual of the heart that we can carry with us into any future we build. As we conclude this exploration of Bonfire of Hope, we realize that the flame has never truly gone out. It has simply moved inward. We are the keepers of a light that has survived the Ice Age, the fall of empires, and the rise of the internet. By understanding the psychology, history, and science of the bonfire, we gain a map for navigating the uncertainties of the future. The next time you see a flame, whether it's a massive festival fire or a single candle, remember that you are looking at the oldest friend of the human race. It is a reminder that, as long as we have a story to tell and a light to share, we will never truly be alone in the dark.